Hi warrior, welcome to today's video. So today, a topic that I wanted to get into because it's a big one, is habits. What they are, why we care about them, good habits, bad habits, how to change them, how to make new ones, how to replace certain habits with other ones, how deep do our habits go? How do they even form? And what is the best way of us changing a habit for the good? This topic goes hand in hand with motivation. I hear all the time from people, I just don't have the motivation. I can't find the motivation. Or they ask me, where do you get your motivation from? How do I find the motivation to do X, do Y? And so I kind of go in and start to help them figure that out. But most of the time, people are looking for you to tell them a simple answer. And of course, it may be a simple answer, but it's not easy to execute. And that's what really matters. So if you're interested in hearing more about this, then just keep watching. When people ask me about motivation, I speak about this often because personally, motivation comes and goes for me. I don't know if this is something that a lot of people like to say, but I'll say what's real for me is I am not that motivated a lot of the time. Like motivated defined as, do I feel like doing it right now? Do I feel like doing it in the moment? I said I was gonna go to the gym. I said I was going to clean my apartment. I said I was gonna go to this class. I said I was gonna study. Most of the time, yeah, I might plan those things, but when the time comes to do them, a lot of the time I don't feel like doing them. I want to do something else. I just am like, ugh, do I have the energy to do this right now? You know? So motivation, it's very rare that when the moment comes, am I like psyched to do it. And a lot of times I just don't count on motivation being there. I don't count on finding it. I don't count on trying to rev it up, trying to dig it up from like whatever carpet it has flung itself under. Swept itself under. I don't know why things would be flinging themselves under my carpets, but I don't wait for motivation because she is a flaky. She is. So what do I do instead? I create habits. I create conscious, intentional habits that are going to push me towards doing what I need to do to go where I want to go. Now, that's not a painful process all the time. It can be challenging, especially in the beginning, but there are some good things. One, tiny habits make a huge difference, so do not discount baby steps. Do not discount making tiny shifts. We'll get into it. The second thing is making a new habit can actually happen within a matter of weeks. When it comes to habits, there's a couple of excellent books that are out on forming habits. And one of them in particular is called The Power of Habit by Charles Duhigg. And in it, he actually breaks down the system of habits. So a habit is, the process, the loop of a habit is formed from three things. So the first part of the loop is the cue. The second part is the routine or the activity. And the third part is the reward. So the cue is whatever triggers us to do that activity. And I broke this down in a previous video in the program, but those are 5 things. There are 5 cues that trigger our habits. I went over them, but I'm just going to touch on them briefly again. Location, time of day, certain people, your emotions and emotional state, and lastly, an immediately preceding event. So for instance, let's just break this down into some real life examples. Every day when I walk in my apartment after work, I immediately make something to eat or drink. Every time. The location of me coming home triggers me to want to make something, whether it's a little snack, whether it's some tea or a kombucha drink or a full-on meal. Every time. I don't not eat anything. Second thing, time of day. So every morning, as soon as I wake up, I brush my teeth and I get my face washed. I make myself coffee. every single day. It is my habit and I love it. What can I say? After that is when I do my ab work, by the way. It's when I do my 10, 15 minutes of movement. But it's that time of day, as soon as I wake up, that's when it happens. Certain people, this could be certain particular people in your life, your aunt, your parents, your sister, your boss, can trigger you to act in a certain way. So example is every time your mom calls you on the phone and you see her, this used to happen to me, this is why I'm saying it, sorry mom, love you, doesn't happen now, but it used to. Every time my mom would call my phone, I would immediately have feelings of anxiety and freak out like I did something wrong and be afraid to answer the phone. I didn't want to talk to her. I would actually dismiss the call. So that person triggered, and specifically her calling me triggered those emotions in me, and I would choose not to answer the phone. The emotional state, so bored, stressed, angry, whatever, can trigger you to pour yourself a drink, to go to the grocery store and buy a bunch of crap, to go and, go to the drive-thru, could trigger you to want to reach out to your ex-boyfriend. You get what my point? Good. And then the last one, immediately preceding event. Yes, I love when things work. It's just great. Immediately preceding event, this could be a certain thing that happens that immediately triggers you. So an example that I have for this is when I get off the subway, as soon as I walk up the stairs, I feel compelled, I go to the grocery store. I don't even need anything most of the time. Sometimes I do need stuff, but I almost every single time, as soon as I get out of the subway, grocery store. So all of those examples of the cues triggered an activity. So the activity is the habit, and it could be bad, it could be good, it could serve you, it could hurt you, it could whatever. It doesn't matter. It's actually not relevant to this conversation just yet. So you do your activity, whatever it is, dance. Awkward now. And then you receive a reward. So we have cue, we have activity, and then we have reward. And it goes in a little circle. So the reward happens regardless of if it is a habit that hurts us or is good for us. So the trick is here, I think most of us can have some insight into this, is there's a reason why we do our bad habits. And it's because we get something from doing that. So for instance, when I was eating because of emotional triggers, my reward was calm. My reward was a little bit of a peak of happiness. My reward was I am avoiding pain. My reward was I am numbing myself and kind of like ignoring all of the responsibilities that I have. So that's one example. Another example is, let's just say at the end of a day, hard day, you get home, immediately get home, and you pour yourself a glass of wine, and that glass of wine de-stresses you, lets you just kind of unwind, makes you forget about the day, it kind of triggers you to start your nighttime routine, things like that. Let's just think of some good habits. So you wake up, first thing that you do is you go brush your teeth. Why do you do it? Because you want to get rid of your bad breath, and it's nice to have a nice clean mouth first thing in the morning. After I do that, immediately make my coffee. That's another habit. And when I drink the coffee, so good. I just feel awake, I feel warm, I feel this hot drink. It sort of is the just initiation for me starting my day, right? All of that. So habit triggers are things that we're looking at, right, in observation week, and we are figuring out what our triggers are. It's also important to figure out what habits you may do from those triggers. Again, there's no judgment, it's just observing what they are, and then what those rewards are, particularly from the bad ones, the ones that aren't working for you, but yes, also from the good ones, because what we're going to start doing next week is figuring out how to untangle our bad habits from our lives. And to know the reward that we get from the bad habits can help us replace them with less bad habits or replace them with something better. And we can also figure out from the habits that we do that are good for us, what we get from those and how we can form more of those. So all of the awareness and the data that we're getting from just looking at ourselves, getting curious, just like learning a little bit about us is going to help us in the future. So we're creating a system. We are not stabbing around in the dark anymore when it comes to really anything. But when it comes to learning about ourselves, when it comes to making lasting change, we are creating a system that will work, and then we can repeat over and over and over again as we continue to grow and evolve. If you find yourself using language like, I hope that this happens, I wish that I could be the type of person, I hope that this works out, I really want this to happen, I'm gonna try, that language is disempowering language. It's a language that shows that you are not fully on board with what your capabilities are when it comes to doing something different. You may say you want it, but you are not committed to having it. It's there right in your language. And you may really feel, I'm committed to changing this habit. I'm committed to forming this habit. But, and this is where the language barriers, the language falters come in, is that hope is not a strategy. Wishing is an ideal. It goes more in line with dreams, but things that you want but don't think that you can have or think you deserve to have. When you say try, you're going to try. For sure, you're going to give it a try until. I'm going to try until it gets hard. I'm going to give it a try until something gets in my way. So when we talk about changing our habits, I want you to be really careful with the language that you choose to use and how it represents your belief in accomplishing it. Now, I'm not saying you know how to do it, because you probably don't. You probably may have an idea, but since you've never gotten far enough in the process to make it a firm lifestyle change, you probably don't actually know what it's going to take. I'm not asking you to know how. I'm not asking you to have the answers. All I'm asking is, are you committed to doing it, no matter what it takes? No matter how many times it takes for you to start again, figure it out, maybe take a few steps back and then take a few steps forward, try something different, throw the plan out the window because you wrote it down in your beautiful planner, but then life happened and you know what? Your planner wasn't ready for life. So this is not a rhetorical question. Are you willing to do whatever it takes to have that thing happen, to have this habit created, to figuring out what is going to heal you, to overcoming your depression and anxiety, to beating your disordered eating with food, to have and create a healthy relationship with food, to have and create a healthy relationship with yourself for that matter? Are you committed to it, no matter what it takes, no matter how long, but your belief that you will get there is what is driving you? Now, you may come to me and you may say, I want to believe it, but I just don't have any evidence that I can do it. I just have never done it before, or I've given up on myself so many times. I have broken all of the promises to myself. I tell myself I'm going to do something and then I break it. So the good news here is, with creating habits, with untangling our bad habits and forming ones that are going to serve us, that are going to help create the healthiest version of ourselves mentally and physically, we are going to be building up our self-integrity to be one of the strongest values that you not only speak, but live your life by. Because every time you do what you say you're going to do, no matter how small it is, even if it's just informing a habit of not hitting snooze when you wake up in the morning, is a reinforced promise to yourself, is a reinforced piece of evidence that you can start to form now, moving forward, that you can do this. Is evidence that you are going to create from now into the future that you can do this. We talk about this in the workouts, and that is whatever happened in the past, however you just showed up for that last set, for that last minute. Is that how you want to continue to show up in your life? Are you proud of that? If the answer is no, do not beat yourself up over it. Just like we're not going to beat ourselves up for all the times we broke our promise to ourselves in the past. But we're going to say, I am a person who chooses different. I want different, so I'm going to be different. And I'm going to create a small piece of evidence for that right this second now by showing up in this moment that I can do that. So we let that go, we let that minute go, we let that set go, and we move on to the next one, move on to what's next, and we choose to show up differently. We choose to show up in the way that is more empowered and more representative of the person that we are growing into than before. So even if you don't have any evidence right now that you can do this, good news is you're alive, you're breathing, you're here, we're doing this together, and you have the power to change at any moment. You can create a single solitary piece of evidence, no matter how small it is, right now to show yourself that. So that's what we're going to do. We are going to create a plan for you to start keeping promises to yourself. And we're going to do that by all committing to one tiny habit, that we are going to commit to every single day. Everyone might be different. I'm sorry, I keep burping. It's awkward. So everyone's might be different, but it's going to be personal to each of us because we're all different and we all have different reasons why things are important to us. So what we're going to do, we're going to start with, is something called a tiny habit. Now there is a phenomenal book called, I think it's called Tiny Habits actually, by BJ Fogg, Tiny Habits. Excellent book as well. And he talks all about how making tiny habits has such a powerful impact on us and to not discount it. So what we're going to do is all choose one tiny habit that's personal to us that we can 100% do. It is not something huge. It is not something really challenging. It is something that we can absolutely do. So we're going to focus on creating a good habit. And this is obviously going to be different for everyone, but that's totally okay. So I want you to think about one tiny thing that you can do today that would be a positive habit for you to start. And it does not have to be related to anything health-wise, which is kind of the really interesting and cool thing about tiny habits, because the brain's process of making a new habit and sticking to it and keeping to your word creates a small feeling of success and pride and sparks motivation. It sparks motivation because we want to feel more successful at the other things that we're doing as well. Suddenly you start thinking of yourself as, I am someone who keeps my word. I am someone who can keep this habit. I am someone who puts effort into my growth. And that behavior change transforms and starts to spread into other areas of our life, including habits that we feel are bad for us. So we're not even going to touch bad habits right now. We're going to start with forming one good habit, something small, something totally doable, something totally manageable. So an example for me is I am creating the habit of every time I go to the sink, I wash one thing in my sink. That's it. So I don't have a dishwasher, so a lot of the time my sink fills up with plates. I'm the only one who lives here. I honestly don't know how it happens so fast, but it seems like at the end of every day, my sink is full of dishes and pots, and it's just too much. It annoys the crap out of me. I love a nice, clean living space. But when there is so much in the sink, I'm like, oh, there's too much. It's gonna take 50.7 minutes to do this, and I just don't want to. So I'm committing every time I go to my sink, I'm gonna wash one thing in that sink. So there's a couple things and tricks that I use in there. One, like I said, it's tiny. It's totally something I can do. The other thing is it's already tied to, what I'm trying to get at is when you attach a new habit to something that you already do, something that's already habitual, you are more likely to stick with it. It's more likely to become a habit because number one, you're remembering it because it's like, okay, every time I go to the sink, I wash a dish, I go to the sink already. So it's connected. That is a very powerful thing. That's up to you guys, but I definitely want to hear them. So please put in the comments what it is you're choosing as your tiny habit and how you're going to incorporate it. What is your habit that you're attaching it to? And do you feel like you can do this? I want you to actually type out, I can do this. And we're going to continue this together for the rest of the next couple of weeks. And we're definitely going to keep track of each other and hold each other accountable for it. So the trick is, even if you don't hold that habit, even if you forget, the point is you're always going to come back to it. You are not going to apply the guilt and make it like I am a failure because I could not keep this habit. No, that's not going to work. That's not going to work for us because that is disempowering talk, and that talk doesn't serve us. It holds us back. And let me ask you, how many times have you beat yourself up and you suddenly got super happy and motivated and excited to do the next thing? No, you want to I'll speak for myself. I want to cry into a tub of ice cream. Hello? Sit on the couch, watch some Will and Grace. So we're not going to apply judgment or anything. We are just going to acknowledge and take a look. We're going to say, why is it that this habit is hard for me to form? Well, I don't remember to wash a dish every time I go to the sink. So how can I help myself remember? Oh, I can put a little sign on the cabinet that says, wash a dish. Cool. With my no snooze habit that I'm breaking, I have been having trouble with it. Okay, I'm not gonna lie. My 4:30 a.m. I am up like that, but every other day that I don't have to wake up for 4:30 is like I hit snooze in my sleep. I don't know. So not discouraged, but I am thinking, what is it about this that I can change? How can I be more successful? How can I, because I'm not giving up. My commitment is still wrong. It's just about, I have to change how I'm going about this. So I am moving my phone away from my bed so that I have to get up to shut off the alarm. That's my next mechanism to forming this habit and solving this. So on just a wrap up, habits, we have a cue, we have an activity, and we have a reward. We're observing all three this week. What are the triggers that cause us to do what habits? And by doing that, what do we get from it? So I want you guys to actually journal this. What are the rewards that you're getting from all of the habits, the good, the bad, the ugly, everything? And then the second thing is commitment. What is it to you? What language are you using around what you say you're going to do? And we are starting to build the habit of self-integrity, of showing up for ourselves when we say we do, just purely because we said we were going to do it. And we're doing that by each of us forming our own tiny habit that we're going to produce, that we're going to create our evidence with starting today. So comment below what you thought of this. Comment below with at least one thing that you got from this video that resonated with you, and definitely let me know your tiny habit that you're starting. Anything else? I don't think so. Other than that, I will see you in tomorrow's video, and I'm gonna end these videos the same way I end my workout videos. Who are you, warrior? I am strong, I am powerful, I am a warrior, and I'm ready for what's next. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.